This is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Film review of NAIA football games is brought to you by Huddle. Huddle connects us with the teams so we can see all the coaches' game film and give you in-depth analysis on NAIA football. This program also airs on the Urban Edge Network. Download the Urban Edge Network app for all the NAIA championship events, regular game days, and a whole lot more. You can see all of the NAIA on the Urban Edge Network. Download the app now. This program is part of all the great coverage on the VictorySportsNetwork.com for all the latest in NAIA football and other sports. Check out VictorySportsNetwork.com.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is John Gruden, the old coach, down here in Tampa, Florida, just studying some football. And I just got to tell you, there is nobody covering NAIA football like the Victory Sports Network. Nobody. They've been doing it for over 20 years, and they know how great football is at this level. Now let's get going. Here is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Let's go.
NAIA Football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
Welcome into the Victory Sports Network's NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm the aforementioned Dannelly. Donley joining us here in just a moment. This is the quarterfinal edition of NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. We're going to break down all the games that happened this last weekend. Maybe talk a little bit about some other stuff that happened in the news in NAIA football this week that kind of altered the course of the quarterfinals. We'll get into all of that. That's all going to come up on the show. First, we're going to talk about the games, and then we're going to break down those important semifinal matchups. And to help me do it is two-time coordinator of the year, two-time national champion, the guy who knows a whole bunch about football and almost made us late going on the air tonight as he was going deep into the Benedictine defense. Here's what they're doing. This guy, I'm like, we got to go live. We got to go live. Save it. So
I've been known to talk a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm passionate, man. I want to get into that game here hopefully sooner rather than later, because I'm like froth at the mouth of excitement. Just masterclass of coaching, and it was a great game. And you got to give friends a lot of credit. They were down and came back and really had a great second half, some adjustments, but that was a heck of a ball game. And what a great coaching performance by the Benedictine Ravens staff and the way the players executed. Yeah, heck of a job, and what a game.
That's what you got to do. And that's what we talked about all season long. When you go up against a powered offense like Friends, type of system that they run, somebody's going to have to, coach them up, get everybody schemed up in 4 days. Benedictine was able to do it. Other games that happened this weekend, kind of the brief overview before we get into the big analysis. College of Idaho goes on the road into Butte, into Alumni Stadium, and they get the big victory. The Oats over the Diggers. Put the ball on the ground, ran it. Had some timely turnovers that turned into points. It was a nice victory for them. And then the other game is I mentioned it to Pat this way, and I actually posted it on X this way. Death by 1,000 paper cuts, as Lindsey Wilson just got bled out against Grandview. It was just this little one here, little one here. And then I think the dagger was probably the kick return for a touchdown right after they scored. That kind of did them in. But some great games this weekend, Pat.
Yeah, there's some good ones. Again, my preference, I guess my favorite one to view, and because I love the schematics approach with the Benedictine Friends game, because again, the contrasting, styles and all that, and no one's really stopped Friends all year, Jason. Let's be honest. Yeah. Not even really slowed them down all year, and you had an approach that was just fantastic. And then kind of the redemption opportunity for COI to go back to Butte and played an absolutely incredible game, especially defensively. I mean, creating turnovers, giving short fields to their offense. The Yotes are a real deal, Jason. I mean, especially defensively, and I thought they played great and played physical offensively up front, and had just a tremendous road playoff victory. And then I kind of think Lindsey Wilson's good teams. I think they are. I think the cold and dealing with a really physical football team and probably the best player in the NAIA, the paper cuts got him for sure.
Yeah, it was one little thing after another. Grandview scores, and we'll get into it. Let's talk about the Grandview Lindsey Wilson game. Grandview goes down, they score on the opening drive. Lindsey Wilson moves the ball, they don't score. They're able to stop Grandview. They get the ball back. They kind of march down the field a little bit, and weren't able to get anything out of it. And then by the end of the first quarter, Grandview scores again, goes up 14-0. And at that point, it just became problematic, not just for Lindsey Wilson, but really, for anybody to come back in that capacity. Jackson Waring had a nice run. Then Grandview goes up 21-0 as the tight end Lance Clayberg gets a 36-yard pass. Lindsey Wilson gets that score at the end of the third quarter to make it 21-7. You're thinking, all right, getting kind of interesting. Ensuing kickoff by Isaac Crackle, 85 yards for a score, and then Grandview tacks on a final score with Bryant Williams going in from 19 yards out. I mean, it seemed like, all right, fourth quarter, we might have a game, and you thought that for about 30 seconds, and then Grandview takes the kickoff back, and I think took all the wind out of the Lindsey Wilson sails in this game.
Yeah, no question. We kind of talked about last week. I mean, this is Grandview time. I mean, and you hate to say it because they're an undefeated football team. They've played well really all year. And they certainly have been tested. Obviously, we're going to get a great rematch here, this upcoming week with Benedictine. And that was a great game in week 2. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like it's their time. They've been kind of waiting all year for this time. And you see that quarterback, number 8, who's pretty darn good, is a possessed guy. When he has the football in his hands, whether it's in the pocket throwing the football or he's in the +1 running game and he's the main ball carrier, there's a will there, and you see it. When the Vikings are near the red zone and it's his time and he's going to be carrying the football, good luck tackling that guy. I mean, he just has a desire and a will to put the thing in the end zone, and the Vikings just like climb on, man, and let's go. And he just puts that team on that program on his back, and that's what he does.
Super efficient, passing the ball again this game, 14 of 20 for 179 yards. But that rushing attack, man, I tell you, you look at the names here. You got Bryant Williams led him in rushing with 77 yards. You got Jackson Waring there. Ethan Schultz broke off a big one for 29 yards and then had one other carry. And you got Dalton Van Pelt, who's come back this year, played tough physical football as well. You got a lot of different guys that can run the football and really get after you. And then you got Asia Toki, who only 2 catches in this game. Felt like it felt like he had more than that, but maybe it's because they were just big catches, got down the field. He's a big target for those guys too. And then the tight end Lance Clayberg and everybody else there. I mean, they just, do they, and even Jackson Waring, I think an outsider that would come into NAIA football and watch a Grandview game, they would kind of go, well, he's pretty good, but is he that special? Well, it's just, that's everybody on that team. Everybody on that team is just so good. And so efficient, and they don't make mistakes. And that's what Lindsey Wilson ran up against here on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think kind of going a step further and really, digging deep, and maybe the guys that are the unsung heroes, the ones that don't get stat lines, it's up front. It's both sides of it. It's the offense and defensive lines. And to be very honest with you, I mean, are they the most impressive looking physically? Maybe not necessarily, but I tell you what, they're some of the most physical. I mean, they're going to knock you off the football, and they work well together. I think I'm talking maybe more specifically the offensive line, just a group working together in unison with what they do. As good a unit as there is in the NAIA, working together. And I think the world of their defensive unit collectively, and it starts with their defensive front and the defensive line. So I think if you can really boil things down, Jackson Waring, obviously, reigning National Player of the Year, gets all the accolades. They have tremendous, playmakers, all those things. But when you get right down to it, where does it all begin? When you talk about the success of the Grandview Vikings, it's the offensive and defensive lines. That's where it all starts.
Yeah, and it's that name on the defensive side that we've got up front. I've got up top there on the screen, Jackson Filer. I mean, that kid's all over the field. Got the nickname the Wolf, going on the hunt. I mean, I believe it. I've seen enough of his football games this year. He's probably one of, if not the top defensive lineman in the country, with one of the best linebacker cores, standing behind him in John Argo and Cade Sheedy, and then the defensive backs back there too. I mean, just so many guys that are able to get after it for Grandview on their defense. I'm dying here.
Yeah. The thing about those linebackers, they're tremendous. But again, those defensive linemen free those guys up so much because they're so good. And the way they play, within the scheme and keeping offensive linemen off of those guys and let those guys run free and run things down and make those plays. It's just such a well-oiled unit collectively. Those 11 guys playing well together on defense. And Coach Peterson does such a great job. Did it last year as a coordinator, now as the head coach, and continuing that. And it's just a well-coached group. They go out and execute. They don't do anything special, Jason. They're not running 47 fronts and 95 blitzes. It's none of that stuff. They play things straight up. They're incredibly sound. They don't make mistakes. They tackle well, and they play extremely, extremely hard. And that's even more scary to me as an offensive coach, to say they don't do a lot. It's not like we have to go prepare all these different looks. We just have to go out and execute them. And they're really, really good at what they do, and they're incredibly well coached and sound in what they do. And good luck, because you have to go beat them, one-on-one. You have to go beat them with your scheme, and you have to out execute them. And that's hard to do when they're that skilled, that sound in what they do. It's hard to do.
Yeah, there's a reason why they've been the number one team in the country all season long. And I kind of, it's, you hear a little of the chirping throughout the year, like, well, I think maybe Grandview's fallen off a little bit. No, they haven't. No, they haven't, people. Well, they this game they did, because they didn't have to. They didn't have to do anything but play base defense that game and to win it. And we're getting, like you said at the start of this, we're getting into that time of year where it's really Grandview's time to shine. And I think each week of the postseason now, we're seeing a little bit more of that. I mean, we saw that against St. Francis in the Snow Bowl. We saw a little bit more of it this week against Lindsey Wilson. And man, I am juiced up for our next game that we've got coming up here. But first, what we need to do, hold on, I got to switch things up. I'm producing and doing this all at the same time here. Our primetime performances in this game: Jackson Filer on defense, 2 tackles for loss, 10 total tackles, and then what Jackson Waring was able to do on the offensive side. Pat, I don't think there's anybody else that we can go with for our Blue Diamond Almond primetime performance in this game.
Everybody does love almonds, but also we all love Jackson Waring and Jackson Filer. Both those guys, Jason, again.
Pistachios.
Again, the Vikings, those are the guys that people jump on, man. Those are the guys that are leaders. And it's their time of year, and those two are the best, no question.
All right, I made you calm down for a little bit. Now we can talk about it. Now it's Friends Benedictine. This was a game, I mean, all season long, Pat and I have watched Friends, and we went, wow, that offense is a juggernaut, with only a couple days to prepare, having to do it on Saturday, not seeing it all the time. It is going to take, one heck of an individual performance by the athletes on defense, a heck of a performance by the coaches to put together a scheme, to get it taught and to execute it, for somebody to knock off Friends in the postseason. Because that offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the country, they've got all sorts of backs in that offense. That could, slash you from any which way but loose, I guess. I'll use a Clint Eastwood movie reference here. They just have so many weapons, and Benedictine this week found a way to do it. And you and I were talking, I'll let you take it away. That defense for Benedictine and what the Ravens and defensive coordinator Trevor Strong were able to do was impressive this week.
What Trevor Strong and staff did was incredible. I mean, let's get down to numbers maybe first, and I'll get into some of the schematics a little bit. I was so impressed watching it. And thank you, Jason. We were able to get huddle film, and I love that, to be able to see some tight shots. And I wanted to see some of the option reads and, really how Benedictine was really, doing things to create some confusion. Those folks that did watch this game, you would see just kind of the timing of the option game really thrown off quite a bit. You saw the Benedictine Ravens, kind of first and foremost, when we talk about the configuration, you almost saw 4 levels, Jason. And I'm going to call it 4 levels of the defense. You had the defensive line, you had the linebacker level, then you had like this kind of in-between level where this linebacker, I'm going to call him a linebacker.
Almost a spy level.
100%. And then you had the third level, these safeties. And a lot of times there's 3 of them back there together, kind of across the board. And there's a lot of moving parts within that. Okay, so you kind of see the 4 different levels. So D-line, linebacker, this spy linebacker, we'll call them, then your third level safeties, okay? So you kind of envision that, those that see the game. Start at the first level. First and foremost, what Benedictine did that was so difficult, I thought, there's a couple things that they did to give Friends issues were late, what we call stemming. What stemming is late movement. So, 100%. So Benedictine's in their stances. Cavante Baker maybe in his case. Now you're seeing the defensive line move and shift. Okay, what does that do? It creates indecision, okay, for the communication with Friends' offensive line, how they're going to block this. And you got to remember the option scheme, folks out there. There's an unblocked player most of the time, the defensive line, that the option scheme is going to leave unblocked to read, whether the ball is going to be given in the option scheme or pulled, into the second and third phase of the option, okay? So it created a lot of indecision for Cavante and that offensive line, okay? That's the first part of it. The second part of that, even though they're doing what we call late stemming, so moving the front, the alignments pre-snap, post-snap, Jason, we saw slanting and angling. Okay, what does that mean? Moving into gaps, back and forth. Okay, you see defensive linemen shooting into gaps. Once they've stemmed, once they've moved, let's say a defensive lineman moved from, whether it's inside shade to an outside shade of a guard, for instance. So once he gets there, boom, now he's slanting back inside, post-snap. What does that do? It just creates all kinds of moving parts of this offensive line, okay, indecision. And how many times did you all see, these folks that watch the game, where Cavante just kind of like not real sure what he's looking at and an unblocked player, just because he's seeing so many moving parts, things that maybe he's not seeing all the time every single week in this option scheme, because they're attacking people so quickly. But now it's almost like Benedictine kind of took the control back, as now we're on the attack, is what that defensive front really did. They attacked. So they moved constantly in this game. And then what the second level did, Jason, is really just, they were gap sound, certainly, but they're kind of running everything down from there. So they're kind of creating disruption the first level. Second level ran everything down. Then the third level, Jason, were incredibly aggressive. One thing I want to talk about is I thought the corners especially did a tremendous job of setting the edge. Where's the edge? Okay. I think one of the Friends' best plays that they run, Jason, is the jet sweep. Yeah. Is incredible. They try to get the ball on the edge. They condense formations down a lot to get the ball on the edge, get their speed around the edge. Benedictine did a tremendous job just blowing up the edge, to set the edge, to not allow the ball to get outside, to force it back into support. And then those safeties and linebackers just cleaned everything up. I thought it was absolutely tremendous in the way they attacked it. Now, with that being said, I thought Friends still had some tremendous plays. They still had their moments of getting things blocked and executed. But it just seems like, compared to what we've seen throughout the year, in conference play and then last week, just timing was messed up. Decision-making was off. How many errant pitches do we see? We haven't seen Cavante and the Falcons have errant pitches all season. And, I mean, there was times like he's throwing it backward, like it was all over the place. Put the ball on the ground. We haven't seen that really all year. So I really have to give the defensive staff of Benedictine high marks, A+, just for the schematics and really being on the attack of really creating chaos for the Friends Falcons and their decision making and the execution flow. I mean, it just was kind of off all day. But Friends still had some plays. Option pass for a touchdown. They made plays. It was still an exciting game. Yes. But kind of what we talked about last week, Jason. I know I'm rambling here a bit. But at the same time, what happened that I talked about for Benedictine keys to win is get Friends uncomfortable. And they did with their defensive approach.
100%.
But I want to go, we'll talk about Benedictine's offense here momentarily. They got them down, 17-7, I think, at one point. I mean, Friends hasn't been down at any point all season. You get them down a couple of scores in a triple option attack, that's scary. That's really uncomfortable because that's an offense like we've seen all year. They have to keep pace. You're getting your couple of scores a quarter. Then you just outlast. And next thing you know, you're up 35 points in the fourth quarter. That's been the mode of operation for the Friends Falcons. That really never happened that way because of how Benedictine took care of things early in the game, especially the first half. I'll shut up now. Sorry.
No, you keep talking. Now, just the thing I wanted to point out, it's not often I go to the defensive statistics, and this just tells you a little bit about the scheme that happened this week for Benedictine. You talked about the almost 4 different levels. You had your defensive linemen, you had your backers, kind of this spy level. That spy level, person playing that spy level this week was Ben Gilliland of Benedictine, and he was able to flow to the ball and make stops and make tackles for that Benedictine defense out of that spot. He was in on a lot of plays. He had a lot of tackles where he was coming up free and able to get to a running back or get to Cavante Baker maybe just as they got across the line of scrimmage. So a tremendous job by the Benedictine defense and by Ben Gilliland for doing that. I looked up the statistics for Gilliland this season. Prior to this game, the highest tackle output that he had coming into a game was 4. So great performance by that young man right there to step up, essentially play in a different role, different position this week to make things happen for that Benedictine defense.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all the movie parts of where everyone played. I remember 21, I think, is it Haston was playing that corner position too, setting the edge. And I'm telling you, Jason, that is such an important role because the outside hitting play, whether it's the deep, they call it the jet toss or the rocket toss, the deep toss and the jet sweep, getting the ball to the edge is absolutely essential in this system. It's just a complementary piece to all the option series stuff. And I'm telling you what, Benedictine absolutely blew it up. I mean, blew it up. Finally, I think in the third, maybe early fourth quarter, Friends got a big one on them at one point because they got the corner blocked and got the leverage to get the ball outside. It happened one time that I remember at least watching this because that guy just absolutely blew up the edge and let the support get there and slow that play up. It's predicated on hitting the edge with speed, and they didn't let it happen. So I just can't commend them enough defensively, how they approached the schematics and then the execution. And they were violent, Jason. I mean, you're seeing tackles made violently and tackling well. I mean, chest on pads to the ground, tackled well and physical.
But that brings up a good point, in getting the huddle film exchange that we did today. I did have an opportunity to have a brief conversation with Coach Osborne, and he said, there's 3 things that we were trying to do in this game: be the most physical team, be the most disciplined team, and win the turnover battle. Well, on the physical side, like you just talked about it right there, and they averaged 7.3 yards per carry for 203 yards rushing in this game. That helped them win the physical battle. On the discipline side, they didn't turn the ball over, and they didn't have a whole bunch of penalties in this game that put them against the wall or gave Friends easy first downs or additional first downs. So accomplish those 2 goals and win the turnover battle. They ended up +2 in the game. So all those things that Coach Osborne and the Ravens set out to do against Friends this week, they were able to accomplish. And, hats off to the Falcons and what they accomplished this season. I think people see what Coach Terry Harrison and the Falcons have done down there in Wichita, Kansas, and they've raised some eyebrows. They've got people worried. The Falcons are hungry. They're not going to want us to give them a slap on the back and say, hey, good season, fellas, real good job. They wanted to be in the semifinals. They wanted to compete in the national championship. They have the type of team and program now that can do that. They just got to keep building it along. But getting back to Benedictine here, that rushing attack yesterday, man, it was pretty potent. Ugorji looked really good. Witherspoon was able to get in there on a few carries. I mean, he's been banged up this year, but to just know, like, each week they still are. They've got that 2-headed monster in the backfield, if you will, between Ugorji and Witherspoon to go with what Jackson Dooley can do at quarterback. The Ravens looked really good, and that brings us to next week. It should be a great game with Grandview.
Totally agree. And I have to give Coach Osborne his flowers too. He's an offensive guy. I thought he did an unbelievable job. We're talking about movement, the defensive front of Benedictine. Well, guess what? It was movement on offense as well, with motioning, trade motions, shifting. That really gave the Friends defense a lot of issues. There was a big play in the passing game where there was motion that was created some indecision, 4 vertical play. Player got absolutely turned loose for a big play. I think it was Osborne's touchdown, I believe.
Yep. 49-yard touchdown by him. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, just turned loose because there was this miscommunication because of motioning. I can't tell you in the run game, Jason, how many times you see we call trade motions. You're flipping the strength of the tight ends and H-backs and things like that across. Defense has to figure it all out, sort it out from a formational standpoint of strength. Okay, then quick motion. Here comes a motion man across. I got to chase that guy across the formation. Now, here comes a gap scheme back around. Well, guess what that does? It messes run support all up. So now there's no safety support where you have pullers now into that area. Coach Osborne did an unbelievable job at that. Ugorji had big-time run after big-time run just on removing run support because he's creating shifts and motions. Just stuff like that. That's coaching stuff.
And talk about the shifts in motion. I mean, I would be willing to bet. I know for sure with Zimmerman, it was at least 2. With Osborne, it was at least 1, maybe 2. Those receptions that they had came off of motion. trading
Oh,
once I did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they weren't just standing in the slot, running to a spot and turning and catch. I mean, they're motioning across, ducking out into a flat, getting deep off of something. I mean, the motion that Benedictine put in on their offense was very, it was chef's kiss. I mean, this was a well-coached game on both sides. It really was. I thought, Friends' approach on defense was pretty good, but Benedictine was able to get physical with them running the football, something that teams have not been able to do this year against the Falcons. And the Friends offense, for all intents and purposes, did get held down a little bit. They still rushed for over 300 yards, but they're usually a 400-500 yard per game rushing team. And they got held back a little bit on that, but still a great performance by the Falcons, and battling back, having an opportunity in the final seconds to potentially tie this ball game up and send it to overtime.
Yeah, it was great. And like you said, Jason, Coach Osborne attacked man coverage all day. Everything that was executed in the passing game, I talked about the run game, the shifts in motion, really messed up communication and run support in third level with motioning and shifting. Same thing in the passing game, created rubs and picks and all those different things versus man coverage. I mean, Coach Osborne was a masterclass the way he, called that game yesterday. It was really well done. Jackson, excuse me, goodness gracious.
Dooley. We got too many Jacksons.
Too many Jacksons. Dooley.
Jackson Filer. Jackson Waring. Right. Jackson Dooley.
Dooley did a
don't name yeah. I can't deal with any more Jacksons.
Dooley did a tremendous job. And again, his numbers weren't crazy, weren't gaudy. But I tell you what, that was the game plan too, Jason. I think Coach Osborne wanted to have control. When he had the football, it was my trade motions, it was my motion, the shifts, all those different things to create some indecision. We're going to have great balance in what we do. When we throw the football, it's going to be very calculated. We're going to attack man coverage with concepts that we want to, that we have ready. But it's going to be run game. It's going to be especially gap schemes that were so well executed with Gorgie, especially running it. It was done very, very well. And it was a great football game overall. And again, Friends came back and made it quite interesting in the end, but it was fun game to watch. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great thing. That's what I love about the quarterfinals. We always get these matchups that we normally don't see or don't typically get the opportunity to see in terms of, watchability, excitement of the game. This game was number one out of the three games that we had this weekend, I think, far and away. And so I was happy that we were able to get some extra film to break it down. The stream kind of went down a little bit in the third quarter, part of the fourth quarter. I do have information that there'll basically be two sources of streams for the semifinals this week. So you can watch on the Urban Edge Network and you'll be able to watch on the NAIA Network. So the NAIA Network has their own network over here. The Urban Edge Network has here. You'll be able to watch in tandem on both. I have found, watching on a Roku TV, watching on my Samsung, definitely better through the Urban Edge Network. If you're watching, on a laptop, on your smartphone, something like that, maybe the NAIA Network, whoever you go with. If a stream goes down, there's going to be opportunities this weekend to check them out on both. And that's a great thing about the postseason. Now we have gone from barely having a stream that you had to pay for to having two free streams, Pat. It's crazy. It's like people want to watch NAIA football.
It's been good.
I'd like to pretend like we had something to do with that, but
just all of our complaining over the years.
They're like, well, we don't want Dannelly to, complain about this anymore. Primetime performance, offense, Xavier Gorgie, giving it to him. Kid had a heck of a game, 18 carries, 118 yards. On the defense, I mean, I think I do have to mention one other person here. But for primetime performance, I would just give it to the whole Benedictine defense for what they stepped up and did. But I do want to point out Isaiah Haston, great defensive game, 4 solo stops. He's defensive player of the year in the Heart. He also got in it on the offensive side this week, 2 catches, 18 yards and a touchdown. So Isaiah Haston playing a little bit both ways. He's done that some this year, but in a big game like this, to have a guy that you play both ways, step up, have a touchdown, have a big game, you got to mention him when we talk primetime performances as well. So there we go. This game was interesting until it wasn't. Does that make sense? Like 2 turnovers early, 14-0. Tech battles back. 14-13. All right, here we go. And then it was kind of like what I mentioned earlier with Grandview. It was like death by a million paper cuts. It was like little run, big run, little catch here, guy over the middle, nice catch over here. Oh, we get a defensive stop here again. And just College of Idaho just overwhelmed Tech as this game went on, and the Yotes were able to get the victory on the road. That's impressive. One, to go into Butte and get a win, but to get a road playoff win in Butte, even more impressive, I would say.
This is like the most Jason Dannelly result of all time. In that, what do you always say? It's turnovers.
Yeah,
right?
Turnovers.
I mean, how did Tech, or excuse me, how did COI get the first 2 scores?
Turnovers.
Off turnovers. One short field and one long
field. Yep. Yeah. But and the first turnover wasn't even like a whoops-a-daisy by Montana Tech, like we fumbled it or we threw it away. Like it was a defensive play that forced a turnover. Like any time like a fumble happens, it's like, oh, it's a forced fumble. And sometimes it's not, like the guy just dropped it and the guy was there to get the fumble. It was truly like forced fumble, forced turnover. And they got up 14-0. And the running game of College of Idaho, you talk about the defense. I'll let you talk about the defense a little bit, but the running game of College of Idaho, man, for real. Riley Byington, heck of a game. Caden Young, heck of a game. I mean, they ran the ball extremely well. And as we talked about, third quarter, they score, they get up 21-13. Then they're able to get up 28-13, and then they get that another score. And then it was too much for a Montana Tech team that accomplished a lot this year, that did a lot of things that I think at the beginning of the season, people were not expecting them to do, but just ran into a juggernaut of College of Idaho this week. And honestly, and I'm not one to, like, College of Idaho won this game. They were the more physical team. They ran the ball well. They were efficient passing. They did all those things, taking nothing away from College of Idaho. Montana Tech was banged up in this game too. Wykees Johnson on the sideline in a boot. The offensive lineman of the year in the Frontier Conference on the sideline in street clothes. And they lost an offensive lineman during the game. He was carted off in an ambulance. Like, this Montana Tech team got banged up at the wrong time of year. And College of Idaho, like, all the credit goes to them. They capitalized, and full health, or even Tech at full health. I mean, College of Idaho looking like a juggernaut right now. I'm using that term way too much, juggernaut.
I tend to do that too. I listen back to the show. It's like, I said that word too many times.
Yeah.
I do that a lot. And I'm sure I'll do it in this one too. I got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to have like a list of words on the screen next to us. Like, do not say, or once you've said, like, delete it. So we don't keep saying juggernaut, primetime player.
Right.
College of Idaho was all that this week. There, back on track.
There you go. Yeah, I agree with you. I think COI won this football game. I mean, they went out and executed, because the like you said, the first turnover of the game was a play by the defense. A completed ball on the sideline and caused a turnover. I mean, punch the ball out. It's kind of laying right on the sideline, and COI falls on it. Short field, still like a 35, 40-yard field for the first score. And then Tech marches the field once again, which is a hard thing to do against that Yotes defense, no question. And you saw Tech do that from time to time in this game, without question. Maybe got a little cute. Torgerson's been the guy that throws the ball a lot. I mean, he's had touchdowns throughout the years. The best athlete probably in the conference. He's a guy that does it all year, and just probably made a poor decision. Threw it to a rock concert. Not a great decision on his part. Turned the thing over, towards, right into the end zone. Really, it was the red zone situation. And then, COI drives the field from there and puts a really great, scoring drive together. And 14-0. It's like, now you're feeling pressure, because we talked about it 2 weeks ago, Jason. Tech hasn't felt pressure all year.
Yeah,
they haven't been really behind the eight ball. They have not been. Their character has not been tested much, because they've been in the lead, and it's a great football team, great football program. But you saw stress, Jason. I'm telling you right now. You saw on the sidelines. You saw it in their demeanor, and they battled back. In that first half, got to 14-13 and a half. Couple more turnovers now in the third quarter, and started getting out of hand. And you see great football players dropping balls, as opportunities to get back into it when they're down a couple of scores. It's just one of those things where I was concerned about, you were concerned about it with his football team. Think the world of him again. You're already banged up. You've got some great players that are out, and now you're being challenged, and it just didn't go well in the second half, especially. Turnovers leading into more scores for the Oats. So with that being said, I think it's an unbelievable season for the Ore Diggers. I think it's something to build on. I think they have just gotten unbelievable talent to come to Butte. Guys from all over the country are listed. Running backs are no joke. I mean, fantastic players, Division I guys they've gotten there. They're seniors. I don't know if they have eligibility left. I'm not sure the whole story. If they can get more guys like that to continue on,
I don't even try to guess at people's eligibility anymore. It says senior in the program. I don't know. Could be back next year. Might not be. I don't know. Are we still doing COVID years? How's that work?
Who knows? But I'm telling you what, Coach Sampson's done an unbelievable job there. I'm a huge fan of that program. I think they had an unbelievable year. It was just one of those games, just things did not go well. It's like, it's a hell of a time to have your bad game, in your game that you put the ball on the ground, where your star player makes he wants to make a play. Torgerson wants to make a play. He makes a bad decision on a receiver option, kind of a gadget type play, makes a poor decision. It's just one of those things. And second half, you make a ball gets tipped up straight up in the air and hangs in the air for 14 seconds and gets picked off. I mean, literally, you could have ordered a pizza and it had been delivered, and then it lands into a linebacker's arms. I mean, it's just when things it snowballed on him. Yeah. It's a hell of a day to have your worst game, and I feel awful for him. I've been there, believe me. It's like what's the rule? Anything can't go wrong does. What's that?
It does go wrong, yeah.
Whatever that law is, I forget.
And the thing is people will say oh yeah, Montana Tech, they had their worst game of the year. Well, there was a reason behind that, because they were playing a really, really good football team, an offensive line that thoroughly impressed me. And what impresses me more is Mike Morawski and what this team was 2 or 3 years ago when they made it to the semifinals, and what the makeup of the team was. What their identity was on offense, what their lack of identity was on defense. And almost like that happened and we went, okay, this is what we've got to do to get to the next level. We got to be able to run the ball a little better. We got to have a stronger defense. And they have, over the last 2 seasons, honed that in. They've done all the things that they need to do to be successful, get themselves into a deep playoff run, and they're back in the semifinals, traveling to Kaiser, the place where they played the last time in the semifinals. So I'll be very interested to see how this team with this makeup does next weekend in the NAIA semifinals. I think their running game, those names that you see on the screen right there, Riley Byington, Caden Young, the quarterback, Riken Echohawk, the backup running back, Trey Gibson, another running back that they've got for them. These guys can run the football. And a lot of that is due to the fact that they do have some weapons on the outside. Travis Mariero is a big play wide receiver. He's a guy you've got to account for on every single down. Otherwise he's going to burn you. Same with Watkins and Freeze. I mean, this team's got weapons, and probably no weapon bigger than what's on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, they did some impressive things, I thought, Pat. They've got a slew of guys that make big plays. They've got guys that, get into the backfield, wreak havoc, chase the quarterback around. I mean, this is a really nice looking Yote football team.
Completely agree. And I think they're great in all 3 phases. And you'll see times, Jason, I mean, they're gaining extreme pressure with 3. That's a real unbelievable advantage defensively when you're that skilled in all 3 of those D-line positions, where you can just have pass rush moves, get home without bringing extreme pressure. I mean, that's really saying something. And they did yesterday to create some errant throws, some throws that were, pressure packed, where they're out a little bit quicker. They got a couple sacks even with very little pressure, from a schematic standpoint, just kind of playing it straight up, and those guys are winning. And they're darn good. And I completely agree with you. Just made play after play after play, created those turnovers time and time again. I mean, how easy is you have an unbelievable player like Torgerson on a gadget play? It's like, that guy, he's unbelievable in the jet sweep. We got to support that guy right now. Boom. They stay home. They're disciplined. I mean, they're supporting it from the second level. Third level guys stay home and make a play in the end zone on interception. where so many people would say, well, that guy's one of the best players in the country. Let's go scream and downhill and try to make a tackle, at the back, at the line of scrimmage. And he throws it overhead for a touchdown. They didn't do it. They were just incredibly disciplined. Prime example of that. Getting defensive line, if you don't get home, you get your hands up and bat a ball that goes straight up in the air for 15 seconds, a turnover. I get a short field now for my offense. I mean, it really that turnover really blew the game open. That made, I think, a 2 or 3 score. Was that 2-score game? I think at that point in the middle of the third, or really maybe it was at the end of the third. I'm trying to think now of the time.
I think it was into 3. Yeah.
I
I got so confused at where games were yesterday because I started watching Grandview and then Benedictine and Friends started. And at one point, all 3 games were going on at the same time. And I'm trying to go in between them like, what's here? So if we could get the NAIA to stagger all the games by 3 hours on Saturday, it'd be so good. Be so good for me. Maybe not for everybody else, but like, can we think about the guy that does a podcast on Sunday night versus all the family and friends and everybody that has to travel? I mean, come on.
I was watching these games live, Jason, but you're right. I'm trying to make my notes, kind of what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I have watched them again today just because, and thankful we got the huddle film for the Benedictine and Friends game. But yeah, this one I watched again today just because I want to get my thoughts back together of the sequence of things, especially what happened in the second half of, again, the tremendous performance of the Yotes and, especially defensively. But, real quick on their offense, and you touched on so many things there with the Yotes offense and spot on. It's heavy personnel formations. I mean, it's just, we're just going to go beat you up. And we have a great running quarterback who really is deceptively fast. I mean, he can really go.
It's like he starts getting around a corner and you're like, somebody's going to get him. And then he just kind of like takes off.
Yeah. And then I don't think is Byington like the most, like, he's like defines who they are. I mean, just a physical dude. I mean, he's looking for contact. I mean, he just kind of like, he encompasses like their identity, I think, offensively. Yeah. And they're so physical, but like as a ball carrier, that's him. And that's like their offense, that type of player. And I mean, they're big everywhere too. I mean, like, they're just one of those guys, they walk out, those guys in white and purple. I mean, it's like, they just look good, man. They're just big and physical looking dudes, and they play physical. And Coach Morosky's system is perfect for the body types that they have in the backfield. And really the quarterback, the +1 running game, you're seeing that more and more. I mean, there's an option element to what they do as well, and tons of RPO as well. The throws that Young made in this game, Jason, there's a lot more RPO. Lot of that this week. So I thought he did a tremendous job distributing the ball, and then in the +1 running game, taking off when he had opportunities, and did a beautiful job.
I would agree 100% with you. So primetime performance on the offensive side, Riley Byington, 25 carries, 145 yards, 4 touchdowns in this game. No surprise, we're going there. Defensively, we're going to go Mason Pretty. Interception in this ball game. Plus was able to have, 4 tackles? Let me pull the stats real quick here again. Yeah, 4 solo tackles in this game as well. We'll give it to him. Not to, step around the performance of some of those other guys in the College of Idaho defense, like Alec Noyes, who had 9 tackles. Just, I think you get the pick there, you get the turnover. It gives you a chance to get the primetime performance from Panera Bread. So there you have it. So we move on to the semifinals. Now, before everybody comes at me, I realize that there was supposed to be another game played this week. I am not putting it into this segment. That is going into the overtime segment because I have no idea how long we will talk about that, if we'll even talk about it at all. I want to talk about the games that happened, and we'll go through those. We'll preview these games. If you want to hear us talk about that whole Marion, Kaiser, Dort ineligibility thing, stick around to the end of the show. For now, we're going to keep it about the football played on the field. Benedictine goes to Grandview. Why are you smiling? Benedictine goes to Grandview. College of Idaho goes to Kaiser. Yeah, baby. Yotes and Kaiser. This is a good one, man. I like this. This is going to be a physical game right here.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, I'm anxious to see with Kaiser having the week off, getting healed up. I really, really, first and foremost, hope Coach Russ is back. I hope, he is back and healthy, and, prayers to him. Hopefully everything is going well and he's back on the sideline for the Seahawks, first and foremost. But yeah, you better get everybody rested up and healthy, because you got a physical football team from the West coming down. And it's going to be one hell of a matchup physically. Yes. Because the Yotes have improved every single week, and they are playing at top form right now. And defensively, physical offense, great balance. incredibly well coached, very methodical in their approach. And again, we're not going to talk about the game that didn't happen. We thought, the Mary and Kaiser game would be a great match because they're very similar approaches. Well, this is kind of similar as well, these teams, in a lot of ways. I mean, a little different defensively maybe, but incredibly strong up front, physical, balance, strong quarterback play. There's just a lot of comparisons. So and these are two tremendous football teams that I think will give us a unbelievable semifinal game in South Florida.
Yeah, I think you've got two different quarterbacks. I think you've got Shea Spencer, kind of a veteran signal caller, slings it around the field a little bit more, can run the football, will run the football if he has to, versus Caden Young, who's in his second season starting, is really effective with his legs. I think that's probably his and he's a great passer too, but I think more of his strength is being physical and running the football. I think he is going to be able to sling it around the field a little bit in this game. But a lot of this game is going to come down to what happens up front, offensive and defensive line, who turns the ball over. I know it's the boring analysis that I do every single week, but it turns out to be true. The team that doesn't turn the football over in this game on Saturday and who controls the line of scrimmage, probably going to win, Pat.
You're right. And both of these teams have tremendous lines of scrimmages, and great defenses and great run games and dynamic ball carriers and great quarterbacks and
big play wide receivers.
Big play wide receivers. Hey, guess what? They're the Final Four. We're in the Final
Four.
It's
weird. Weird how they have all of those elements and they're one of the four best teams in the country.
And great coaching staffs. And shocker, right? So
what's it take to get there? These things that seem so obvious.
These are all the elements to have a great football team. So this is going to be a great game. This will be a tremendous game. It's going to be very physical. It's cool that's going to be in South Florida in great weather. And the last time these two teams played, Jason, 2 years ago, was unbelievable. One of the just tremendous games and physical games, and really this is the year the Kaiser won the national championship. So just an awesome one, and I expect the same thing. And the cool thing I think for the Yotes staff and probably a good portion of their players, they've been there, they've done it, they've made that trip. It's significant. It's a long flight. Obviously, there's heat they've not experienced in some time. It's going to be a cool experience for them. But again, they've had some experience doing it. And it's a small college level, guys. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, it's a flight. It's a big deal. It's out of your routine. It's something unique. It's something different. I will tell you, it's not as easy as you think it is. It is different. And there's not a lot of time to really prepare when you get right down to it. It's a quick turnaround because you have to leave. We're going to leave probably Friday morning, I'd say at the latest, and they may even go early on Thursday. I'm not sure what the schedule is to get used to maybe, seeing the field and maybe get used to a little bit of humidity and heat. Even though it's December, it's still going to be warm. I don't know, but it is different, and you have to get used to it. And those guys have done it before. I guess that's my point. What I'm getting to.
Well, and the good thing about the Frontier Conference, it's not completely foreign. They do fly around like you'll fly down to Arizona Christian. They didn't this year. Arizona Christian played at College of Idaho. I would assume that they flew to Simpson in Redding, California. I don't think that they bust that. But I'm not on the day-to-day calls of what happens in the business department for College of Idaho, but that'd be my assumption. So this is different than, say, like a team from the GPAC or a team from the mid-states where everything's a bus trip. Like, these guys have gone through the process of getting on a plane, flying someplace, and obviously it's going to be a charter. It's going to be a direct flight to get themselves, into West Palm. They'll probably fly into Fort Lauderdale, I would bet, and then bus up from there. So I think the fact that they did it 2 years ago, a lot of these guys that are playing did it 2 years ago. And that they've done it some, like, that's less of a factor. Heat, on the other hand, 73 for a high is what it's saying next Saturday.
Perfect. Beautiful.
76 right now, high of 76, low of 60. So, I think maybe the disadvantage, and we'll talk about this more in overtime, almost disadvantage, I think, for Kaiser, and I know people throw things at the screen saying that, almost disadvantage for them sitting out for a week. And now they got to play a physical team like College of Idaho, who's ready and rearing. They're in a rhythm. Hey, they're doing meetings tonight. We're going to practice tomorrow, practice on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. Wednesday. Hey, Thursday, we're getting ready. Friday, we're flying down there. Whereas Kaiser's just kind of been, sitting back really since mid last week, waiting to find out if they're going to play a game. and then not play a game and then to get back into things. So there's also uncertainty on that side, and we'll talk more about that a little bit. Final thoughts on this one before we roll on to our other semifinal game?
That's going to be great. Can't wait. It's going to be must-see streaming for sure. It's going to be physical. There's no doubt about it. And I'm excited because I think COI has gotten better every single week. There has been, again, we talk about the thing, repeat ourselves, the same thing we talk about all the time, the slow build. I've said that probably 15 times this year about the Oats. And I feel that way. I mean, look at yesterday. I think that's an improvement from the week before. I mean, it's a slow build of just getting better and better. And you have to tip your cap to this coaching staff and players that just constantly getting better and better. I mean, you look at the first time they played Montana Tech, Jason, I mean, to where they were yesterday. I mean, it's like, not even comparable. I mean, and they came back and battled that game 2 months ago. Different team.
Well, and again, it just reinforces everything that I say every week about turnovers, because what happened to College of Idaho in that first game against Montana Tech? They turned the ball over and Montana Tech capitalized. Other way around this game, look who the victor was. So that'll be key in the game on Saturday. All right, we'll move on. I put those on there. We already talked about it, so we'll just keep going. Otherwise, we'll have the longest show in history. Benedictine Grandview. I joked with Nick Rule, the commissioner of the Hart Conference, like, come on, man, what are you thinking? Scheduling the Hart Conference championship game the weekend of the semifinals? Well, come on, get serious, man. But it is the champion of the North versus the champion of the South. Champion of the North is hosting Grandview University. 2 out of the 4 teams in the semifinals are from the Hart Conference, and the Hart Conference will guarantee themselves a participant in the national championship game again this season. You know, I like it. I know it's a rematch, and we could have done this and that and switched this. College of Idaho, why aren't they going to Grandview? And Benedictine should have went to Kaiser and that. Like, this was inevitable. They're like the way that we do the postseason. We've done this for all of our lives doing this. Like, they're not actively going to make it where 2 teams from the same conference have a chance at playing in the national championship game if they can avoid it. And so that's where we get this game from. And honestly, I think the folks at Grandview and Benedictine wanted to see this too. Maybe I'm speaking for them, but I want to get this one out of the way so I can focus on national championship next week.
Yep, totally agree. And remind me, Jason, week 2, 27-24 final?
27-24, yeah, I believe that is
unbelievable.
I'm going off memory there.
Yeah, it was a score game, a field goal game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
and a classic, one of the best of the season. So here we are.
Benedictine got if I remember right, I'll pull the thing up here, but Benedictine, if I'm remembering correctly, got a late score, tried to onside kick, did not recover, and then Grandview ate the clock out, if I remember correctly now. Maybe I'm making things up in my brain here. But
this is week 2. They had a tough one back-to-back, so they beat Morningside week 1. Week 2 had to go play Grandview. I think was that in Atchison though?
No, that was in Des Moines.
Oh, was it Des Moines? Okay, I can remember where it was. But here we are again. An unbelievable one of the classic games of the year in week 2. Here we are, for a rematch. So here's the tough thing about what Coach Peterson and staff have for them this week. Yesterday's game for Benedictine and friends. Guess what they do, Jason? It's worthless.
Yeah,
they get nothing out of it.
Nothing out of that.
It's a waste of time for them to even look at.
Just to recap, so Benedictine scored with 1:08 on the clock to make it 27-24. They then tried an onside kick, did not get it. Grandview got it with 1:07 left, and then ate the clock out from there.
Yeah, right. Great game. I remember Dooley was really great, especially in that last drive, if I remember right. Some timely runs and kind of it was a really good game. Yep. The thing is, again, talking about yesterday, the game's irrelevant because it's such a unique system, that Benedictine went against. So really, Grandview gets nothing out of that tape. And I'll tell you what, even on both sides, Jason, because Grandview's not a man coverage team. Like it's not going to be the same concepts that Coach Osborne is going to use against the Viking defense as what he used against Friends. So throw that thing out. So they're going to have to go back and obviously watch the first time they played. They're going to have to go back and really study, the Ravens throughout the year. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge a little bit for Grandview. I mean, it's something they're obviously going to be attacking, and they're doing it right now as we speak. I mean, they're getting deep into it.
And from a coach's perspective, like I think Benedictine can get decent film from the Lindsey Wilson game. I honestly
No
think the
question.
St. Francis game with the weather and everything, like that film is almost one that you throw out there for Benedictine. Like, do you really get a lot out of that unless we're playing in another snow game on Saturday?
Well, formationally, you'll get something out of it.
Yeah.
Concept, at least the attempt of concept, you'll see it because St. Francis and Benedict, there'll be some overlap, at least from schematics. I guess I'm really talking about schematics more than
Yeah.
anything else
Yeah.
because Friends is incredibly unique.
Yeah.
on
What
both-
Benedictine
really on
did
both
on
sides.
defense. Yeah.
Correct. And Benedictine has a very specific plan. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. That
Yeah,
Graham's looking at that and said,
if Benedictine runs that defense this week, they
Yeah.
might get beat by 30.
it's going to be more traditional.
Like, you know what? That really worked for us last week. Let's do that again. It's like,
Yeah, I don't think Jackson Waring is going to under center. They're going to run midline and veer options, so it's not going to happen. I don't think, at least.
Let's have some fun.
Even though he'd be good at it, but anyway, here nor there. But so that's kind of thrown out. So to go back and really study things, and I'm with you with the St. Francis comparison because it was such a weird game because there's big plays because DBs are falling down and it's like kind of a mess because of the weather. But I'm talking more formationally, how they're going to line up and that kind of thing. I think these are two great coaching staffs. I really have, and I had tremendous respect prior for the Benedictine staff and Coach Osborne. I have a new respect now, even higher opinion of them from what I just watched yesterday. So I think this is going to be a classic. I think, the great question is, if people are asking me, hey, Pat, do you really think Benedictine can do it? I go, yeah, I do. I actually think they might be able to win this football game. Where if you've asked me maybe 3 weeks ago, I go, no, I don't think so. Yeah. I think this is inevitable. Grandview's going to, be in the national championship and have, the odds-on favorite to repeat. I really do. And that still may happen. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, man, this is a good team. They're incredibly well prepared. And I think this team can really do some things to put Grandview in a position to be uncomfortable because they're going to be put in the right positions from a standpoint of preparation because I just watched them do it and against a team that no one could do it against. So why couldn't they do it again? I mean, they've already battled to a 3-point game against this great team already this season. And, and the crazy thing is, Jason, and we said it a little bit about Montana Tech, Benedictine didn't play a lot of meaningful games since that week 2 game. Really, when you think about it, they blew everybody's doors, off all season. And here they are playing really good football again. They've kind of got it back, Yeah. And it's playoff time. And both these teams are playing very well right now. So, again, here we are again. Final Four. Hey, these teams are playing really well. Shocker.
Really weird. Both teams are really well coached. Both teams got good defense, but they will like to force turnovers and like to do all these things that we talk about.
Crazy.
Makes sense. Now, the thing I really look at in this game, and we know what Grandview's offense is. I mean, it's running through Waring. It's Van Pelt, it's Williams out of the backfield. It's Toki on the outside. It's Clayberg catching passes. But I really feel like the identity of this team and the reason they will win, if they win next weekend, will be because of that defense and the pressure that they can get on Jackson Dooley, chasing him all around the field, getting into backfield, stuffing up Gorgie at the line of scrimmage, not allowing him to bounce outside or bounce off tackles like we've seen him do so well this year. I think the Grandview defense is really the X factor in this game. Do they step up, shut down the run game, make Dooley find guys outside of Zimmerman and Osborne to make big plays? I think that's what we're going to be talking about next Sunday is how that Grandview defense either did or didn't do against the Benedictine offense.
I have a couple of things that, kind of struck me here as I'm thinking about it. I thought Coach Osborne did a great job of manufacturing big plays. When I say manufacturing, creating them by schematics, whether it's be motion, formation. He really did that by putting Friends in a predicament where they had to, resort things out. Okay, communicate. Oh, we're in man coverage. We messed something up. We blew a coverage. He did that. He created it. You're not going to do that with Grandview. That's my point. They don't do as much in the back end because they're incredibly sound. They're not going to make mistakes blowing coverages. It's not going to happen. They don't do that. So how can Benedictine, can they big play at all? Is it going to be a thing? Can you grind out long sustaining drives against Grandview? Well, no one really ever does. Is that possible? Can you do that? That's one question I have. I mean, because I think you have to get a big play at some point on them. You know what I mean? It's kind of what we said last year, like in the national championship. Can Kaiser get a big play on Grandview? They really never did. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting at. I think you have to have a chance to win a one-on-one on the outside, a receiver getting past a Grandview corner one-on-one for a big play, 40, 50-yard touchdown, something like that, where I thought yesterday they were able to do that against Friends by scheming it up. Can Benedictine do that some way, somehow? Is it a double move? Is it some type of, utilization of formation and concept to be able to do that? I don't know. I'm not sure they can. That's my one question. Then the second part of that is, can Benedictine, as physical as they are in defense, and I have a new respect for that defense of what I saw yesterday, them going in and just absolutely slamming the option. I mean, and hitting that option scheme and Cavante and those backs with violence. I mean, they had no qualms about going to put their body on people and hit the heck out of them. They really did. Well, guess what? You got a hell of an offensive line and a physical backfield and a giant quarterback who's real strong and real determined coming at you. Can you stop it consistently? Those are my questions in this game. If Benedictine has a chance at success and win this game, those are my questions.
Yeah, we'll get answers on Saturday. Both games will be on the Urban Edge Network and on the NAIA Network for people to check out. I'll have all the links on victorysportsnetwork.com. With that said, the battle for the Red Banner, the semifinals, continues on this coming Saturday. You can, like I said, you know where to check it all out at, and you get all the links from the Victory Sports Network. You go there. Yeah, we head into overtime. Anything we want to say?
Just don't start swearing.
Listen, when people are stupid and respond like idiots on the internet, I'm going to swear. If you haven't picked up on this show, Pat and I'll speak for myself. I show a lot of restraint from my typical language of what I use on a day-to-day basis. In fact, when we do this show at 5:59 Central Time, like I have to turn a switch on in my brain to not say some of the things that I want to say. I said some of those things on the internets this week. Dropped the F-bomb a couple times on a few people.
In script. Get to read it.
Yeah. It's there forever. You can Google it.
Yeah, it's cool. So, we have to be very conscious. Like, we have to censor ourselves because I'm the same way. I'm an old coach. And my mom.
And we represent the NAIA to some respect and the institutions that are in it. So we censor ourselves a little bit.
Yep. Faith-based institutions, certainly. I know there's a lot of, folks that listen to this or watch and listen that, be respectful. And my mother will be mad if she heard me swearing. So anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. So here's the thing. And here's why I was swearing. The people that don't understand what actually happened this week to Marion and just without knowing any facts are like, cheaters, bunch of cheaters down there. That's what they do. No character. It's like they self-reported the issue. The no character part of it, the cheating part of it would be let's not say anything now. We'll say we found that out after the season so that we can go play Kaiser. No, instead they self-report it and they get the ruling handed down to them. Now I know they weren't happy with the ruling, finding out, hey, yep, you played an eligible player, so like you lose that game, so you don't get to go play. And this happened again back in 2008 with Northwest Oklahoma State. So it's not the first time in history. And then Dort obviously wanted to play this week because they had lost to Marion last weekend or 2 weekends ago, depending on when you're watching this. And the appeals committee for the NAI said, no, we're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. Very classy post from the Dort athletic director to say, hey, we appealed. We wanted to. They said, no, we respect their decision. This is the end of our season. And I felt Dort fans in general pretty respectful with the, this sucks for our kids. We really would have liked to play, but this also sucks for those seniors at Marion that aren't going to get an opportunity to play this week. And thought that they were. They didn't know they were. Like, that's the worst feeling in the world, not knowing that you played your last game, thought that you had one more coming. Ugh, it's terrible. And there's a lot of other factors here too. I mean, just the general chatter, 80% of the internet chatter I was good with. There's about 20% where I was like, I can't take it anymore. I've got to say something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And this is coming from a St. Francis guy and talking about my rival.
Yeah.
I'm the rival school from where I went and coached against.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Ted Karras. And I'm just going to tell you, there's not more of a classy human being and a good character person than Coach Karras, and just devastated over the situation. And again, talk about class and character with self-reporting, like you said, and just feel for those players. And you talk about the seniors. I mean, those are the guys that are never going to get another opportunity. I mean, that's just what makes you sick. The coaches, hopefully will have another opportunity to make another deep playoff run. Hopefully the remaining players in the roster will, but those seniors won't. And that just makes you sick. And I've been in those situations coaching. It's like, your last game, if you lose it, it's just one of those things. It's like, it's just an awful feeling. And in this situation, something totally unique. That's people. How do you prepare? How do you cope with that? It's something that's incredibly unique. So, like you said, it's awful. Probably need to have some type of reform when it comes to the running eligibility, the playoffs. I don't know how we go about doing it. I will tell you, from an administrative standpoint, and being in that seat many times, this is a real problem. And I will tell you, this has happened before. I can tell you, when I was at St. Francis, have caught this exact thing happening before we put a player on the field, like the week of. I will tell you, and I don't know this situation at all. I have no clue this exact specific situation, but I will tell you, today's day and age with players and be able to have abilities to add and drop classes, it's never been easier. It's never been easier for students.
Drop class.
100%. It's a click of a button. It's like literally deleting an email. It's almost that easy. Where I will tell you, in my 20 years ago when I was coaching, there was a process involved that would send at least an email chain and an alert system to people to be aware. Now it can't be any easier to do when it comes to at least the process of dropping a class to allow someone to fall below the required hours. That's what happened here. And that's exactly what happened here from what I understand, what I've heard. I don't know the exact particulars. But this is not intentional. This was nothing. Yeah. This is not a competitive advantage situation. That's the other thing. This is not like, going to get a guy and, back, you pay players now, bad example, but like you're doing something illegal to get a competitive advantage. It's not
there's I can think of 5 examples off the top of my head over the last 25 years in the NAIA where I saw a dude get on a team at the NAIA level. And I went, 1, how's that guy eligible? 100%. 2, how long is he going to be around? And then you hear the story that week 9, when they were 4 and 5, he was out the door and wasn't around. Or as soon as the season was over, he was out of there. Like that's happened. This is not that situation. This is literally a kid taking a class, dropped it inadvertently, unintentionally. I shouldn't say unintentionally, but dropped it, not understanding what the consequence was of it. And then once it was explained to him, added it back by Coach Ted Karras's note that he had on the internet earlier this week. So I feel for everybody involved. I feel for the Marion players. I feel for the Dordt players. And then lost in all this, it's like, the NAIA just giving Kaiser the easy road to this. Like, you think that was the intent of this? You think that's what they wanted to do? Like, people saying that, I have no time for. Kaiser, they just got the advantage to sit at home and not play last. Well, what were they supposed to do? Based on the previous, and I'll talk about this, based on the rules, and you're supposed to follow the rules. That's the rule. That's how they had ruled on it in the past. That's what the policy says. That's how this all happened this year. Do I agree that they should just say, no, Dordt, sorry, you're not going to play. We've set this precedent before. I don't agree with that part, but the rule says that's what it is. I feel like Dordt should have been given the opportunity to go play. But then the other wrinkle in that is, does Kaiser want to play him? Because Kaiser's been preparing for 4 days already for Marion. And now on Wednesday, they got to flip the switch. And by the way, it's Dordt now. Now you can say, well, Dort's had no more time to prepare for them than Kaiser did to them, all that sort of stuff. But I do feel like that's a part of this that needs to be tweaked. People are talking about recertifying eligibility prior to the postseason. I don't know if that's the right route because everybody's already short-staffed. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I think it was Drew Watson from Southeastern said, now, we got to take some time and emotion to step away from this and then look back at it and say, do we really need to change policy, or do we need these things to make sure that they're shored up at the schools? I don't think anything needs to change so much on the eligibility side, but I think in terms of if this happens, giving the team the opportunity to play is something that needs to be looked at, not just in football, but in all sports. Like if we're playing for a 16 team site NAIA men's basketball tournament, and all of a sudden there's only 15 going in, well, let's get a 16th team in to give them that opportunity. It's just my opinion. I'm rambling now.
No, it's a logistical nightmare though to have Dort and rural Iowa to figure it all out on a Wednesday to get them to South Florida. That's really hard to do. I'm just going to tell you this. And like you said, not to mention the preparation for Kaiser and Dort. I mean, Dort's probably already handed their stuff back in. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, in a practice, you got to get on a flight. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think it's even possible. I don't even think if we would have known even earlier. I don't think it's even possible. I just don't see how. To be very honest. And then
it would have to be a Sunday or Monday thing, basically.
Even then, but here nor there. But the point I wanted to make, and you said it, short-staffed. Jason, I think that's a lot to do with this, because I looked at something last night. I did watch the Indiana-Ohio State game last night. Do many people work in the Ohio State football program?
More than some NAIA teams have on roster for the entire football team, probably.
It's quite significant. I actually didn't count, but it's significant, right? NAIA athletic departments don't have that type of those resources. I'm just going to tell you right now. That's not a great excuse for something like this, because there has to be accountability. So we all have to be accountable for your eligibility and the coaching staff and administrations. I get all that. It ultimately comes down to that. We have to be able to do it. And then the players have a part of it too. If we're all in this thing together, I'm saying we as like the NAIA, where here are our standards, here are our rules, we have to be able to do it. At the same time, like we're also trying to, like Coach Harris and his staff and the administration are trying to prepare for a huge game in South Florida in the quarterfinals. Like I'm thinking about red zone third down. Like, if I'm a coach, that's where I am. And I'm not thinking necessarily I got to worry about, somebody dropping a class. I mean, it's really difficult. My point being is because maybe there's a staffing situation, or we don't have all the resources, like, all the big time schools, things like this can happen is my point. Mistakes can happen. Oversights happen. It's unfortunate. It's not intentional. It's not anything that's a character situation or a competitive advantage situation to gain some type of competitive advantage. That's not what happened here. Yeah. It's an oversight situation that's unfortunate. And how do we get around, eliminating it, or at least limiting it as much as possible? And I don't know the answer to that.
And people say one time is too many, but the fact that we're talking the last time this happened was in 2008. I mean, it seems like it's worked pretty good. I mean, it hasn't happened since 2008, and then it happened now. Like, that sucks. Yes, it's a black eye, and people will continue the thing that just annoyed me. And I ended up blocking them. I don't normally block people on X, but I did. Were the number of people in my mentions, like this weekend when I was posting score updates, like, you got us update on the Marion Kaiser game? It's like, blocked. You're an idiot. Like, that joke was not funny to begin with. It wasn't even funny past like Thursday or Friday, and you're doing it on Saturday. And I've seen you've replied to other threads that I have saying like the game is, what's the score of that? Shut up, idiot. Speaking of a legitimate question though. So does Marion forfeit the conference games that the ineligible player participated in? Have we heard anything on that, Pat?
That I don't know. I've not heard,
because in their announcement said 3 games. So I don't know how,
I don't know.
So I don't know if they vacate 3 wins or not. And I'm talking
not heard that yet.
Is Gary Newsom still the commissioner of the Mid-States Football Association?
I don't. Is it? That's a good question. I've been out 4 years now.
Or did they change? Doesn't matter. Email somebody there; they'll tell you. I'm sorry that we don't have the answer.
Don't have the answer.
No, this question, did the charter from the quarterfinals get used? If not, they could have used it this week. And would that have changed up the matchups? You're misunderstanding the charters. So they have one reserved every week. So like they have one. So they had one last week. They have one this week. They could get another if they absolutely needed to, but as it says in the manual for the NAIA Championship Series, if it can be avoided, they will avoid it. Only one team flying this week. Let's throw this comment up here. Ish happens, even though it happened at some point in the future. Same mistake will happen again as long as college sports is active. Issues like this will happen. I don't disagree. I mean, if it's not this issue, it'll be another issue. I mean, Indiana Wesleyan, like Kansas Wesleyan, is literally on a bus in 2021 heading to Indiana Wesleyan, and they get the phone call, hey, turn around, by the way. We played an ineligible player, and we had to forfeit on Saturday. Well, so this has happened in the postseason before. I think that's all of our questions over there. Is there anything else we need to say on this? I felt like I've exhausted the internet, and like this is the official moment. Like this is behind. I'm done talking about it unless like the NAIA has some grand jury committee and they want me to come and testify and give my opinion on it. Like it's done. It's over. This week is behind us now.
It's behind us. It's unfortunate because I would love to have seen the game. I think it's going to be a great game. Again, it's a moot point at this time, but I would love to see Coach Karras, get his group. I mentioned it last week, frothing at the mouth. I think he would have. What an opportunity for those guys to go down and jump on a charter and play in South Florida, because that's kind of his game, man. I'm telling you, he gets guys ready to play big games, and it's really unfortunate, and I'm sick about it. Again, this is coming from a St. Francis guy that tells you how bad it is, because it's really unfortunate. It really is. And it's something that the NAIA needs to be continually be more aware of. Post COVID, Jason, there's been a lot of jobs probably eliminated in administrations, and I'm gonna kind of bring that point up again. Maybe that there's just maybe not as many people available to dot I's and cross T's.
Not everything needs to be automated. Not everything needs to be automated.
That's it.
And
can't be
Pat,
AI.
I'm going to put this on us too. The reason this happened, I'm putting it on us because I don't think last year we had like a 20-minute segment where we talked about eligibility and dropping credit hours and going not full time. And we went through it on this show, and we're like, sorry, this is like the most boring 20 minutes ever. But like Pat and I could go for days talking about eligibility, counting of this guy's scholarship versus not counting this guy's scholarship because he's got a 3.6 GPA. We didn't do that this year. That's on us, man. We'll do better next year. We'll do the full show at the beginning of the year that all the coaches then can just email to their teams to say, hey, watch these 4 minutes right here to understand this. But I don't think there'll be an issue in the next year, because I think it's pretty well out there about this happening. At least you hope not.
Yeah, you're talking about 4 minutes. I will tell you, Jason, my time coaching, we used to do seminars. We really did.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat our guys down and say, guys, yes, we know you have advisors. We know that you have access to your signing and dropping of courses. You're signing up and dropping of courses. But here's the deal, guys. You have to do some math. So if you have 14 and you drop 3, do the math. You have to have 12. So hours mean credit hours.
Not to go too inside baseball on this, but you have to have 12 new hours. It can't, if I remember right, it can't
100%.
be a retaking class either. So
Well,
if you're retaking a 3 credit hour class and you're at 14, you're technically only at 11. So then you got to make sure you take that 1 credit hour intro to racquetball to make sure you're at 12. Otherwise, you're not, like, repeat credit hours are a thing too. Somebody's going to want to hire us as their FAR. And no.
You can tell you're an old administrator because you're exactly right. And that's kind of strategic where you have, by your semester, you got to realize, okay, you're going to have to take probably 18 because you're repeating. I mean, you're aware of those things and you can't drop. I mean, again, I will tell you, we were incredibly thorough at USF. I will just tell you, we wore a lot of hats, believe me. Talk about love of the NAIA, my old segment here that I came up with. I mean, this is probably the epitome of that, Jason. I hate to, and it's something negative, which I hate.
Yeah.
I kind of, it was a tongue-in-cheek type thing that we laugh about. This is the negative side of it. I will tell you. The love of the NAIA, I will tell you, Jason, I wore so many hats as a football coach. I wanted to worry about red zone offense and third down calls, but unfortunately, it was unfortunately, it was stuff like this that I wanted to make sure I was paying attention to details with my guys and saying we had a strategic plan about, okay, you got to repeat a class, or you got to make sure you have 12 active credit hours at all times, even though you have the ability of clicking delete. And I may not get word until next Wednesday about it. You're playing Saturday. We can't do this. And we talk about the
Mhm.
entire program, but then the position coaches or coordinators have to be involved in that process all the time. Otherwise, unfortunately, things like this can happen.
It's something that you wish wasn't a factor at this level, that they could just go out, coach football. I mean, they're already short-staffed on how they have to coach positions and coach football, to have to throw everything on top of it. I mean, but that's the level we're at. That's why I love this level, because it's like my job. Every day is different. That's why I love my actual full-time job. Every single day I get to do something different, or something else that I get to focus on. That's kind of coaching football at the NAIA level. Yeah, you get a coach, but you get to be a business manager. You get to be an academic advisor. You get to be a freaking strength coach, nutrition coach. You get to do all these things because there's nobody else on staff that's going to. So you're going to have to figure it out. All right. We should wrap things up, because once again, I told the wife, probably won't be a long show tonight. We only got 3 games, preview 2 after that. Gonna $120 again. I tell you, man, we just get long-winded.
I thought it was good.
It was. I mean, the commenters can tell us if it was a good show or bad show, but I thought it was a good conversation between you and I. And again, when we started doing this 3 years ago, that's all we set out to do, was basically give you and I a chance to talk once a week about NAIA football. And unfortunately, everybody else gets to listen to that drivel for an hour and 20 minutes. We appreciate that.
The show's for us.
It honestly is. I mean, just 2 dudes able to talk about the one like weird thing in the world. Like there's people having the same podcast, but it's about rocks, and it's 2 dudes that just are super into like geology, talking about rocks as passionately as we talk about NAIA football. Fortunately, our subject is maybe a little bit more entertaining than rocks. And my apologies to anybody that's a geology major. Is that even major anymore?
I think so.
Or somebody at Montana Tech probably got it. It's like it's minerals. It's extreme minerals or something.
Yeah, something.
Some sort of mining.
I have a stupid question. If
Yeah.
we didn't do the podcast like this, what would be the other topic we would do a podcast on?
I
Maybe
think
not
it'd be
even
music.
sports. Yeah, it's gonna be rock, right?
Music, rock music, easy.
Rock music. Yeah,
Because I think we both have a deep affinity for music. And, and there's things where you and I are like this on, but then there's things that we are completely. That Irish culture, really gotten into that lately. History, probably.
History.
Probably big on history.
Irish culture, huh? Okay. Yeah.
Or just doing like not so much live recap, but going back and looking at the entire South Park catalog.
Oh, jeez. Let's get canceled.
Remember in 2001, this episode, you and I walked around it was Louisville coaches convention going, don't forget to pack a towel.
That's right. Right. I think we made reference to Lemmy Winks this week too.
We did make a reference to Lemmy Weeks this week. Oh
in our personal conversation, not here.
Yeah, not on this show.
Yeah.
Lemmy Winks.
Let's not sing the song. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So but fortunately for everybody watching this, we talk about NAIA football. So there you have it. All right.
That's what we picked. That's what we picked to talk about.
We ready to wrap things up here?
Yeah.
What's the end of game signal in football? I forget now. Isn't there like the referee actually makes a signal? Nobody sees it because there's a clock.
Is it hands out? I don't know.
Yeah. Is it this? The hands out?
It's like flying a plane. I don't know.
There you go.
I made it up.
Josh Margolis, just do one podcast on the South Park Sarcastiball episode. I promise you won't be canceled. Josh, we would have you as a guest on that. Josh is a media guy, covers Montana Tech. I like him. He's got good information.
Maybe we do one show of just like Irish culture, rock music, and South Park. Just all.
Well, we say it every year, like in the off season, like we're gonna like just do a show. We need to like just say, hey, we're doing a show Sunday night. You and I not talk to one another, and we just talk about everything that's not NAIA football. See if we can get through an hour doing that. I don't think we could. We'd reference back to something, I'm sure.
Oh, I think we could do 6 hours of nonsense.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't think anybody would watch it.
No, of course not. It'd just be us and my mom.
Yeah. Maybe your sister. Your sister hasn't checked in on the chat for a while.
She's out.
She's She's out. She's too busy parenting state champion water polo players, and that's not a lie.
No, that's a real thing. Yeah, water polo in Texas, and you would think they'd be very niche. Oh no, there's like 150 schools that play in Texas. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, my niece is a water polo state champion. How about that? I don't know. Good
Champions in the family, baby. That's what it is.
Right.
Keep winning championships.
That's what we do, babe.
He's Pat Donnelly. I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. We are back next week at the same time, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, and we will recap what happened in the semifinals and get you set for the NAIA Football National Championship game. For Pat, I'm Jason. Going out there, enjoy some NAIA football this weekend, folks, and make sure you're checking out the semifinals either on the Urban Edge Network or the NAIA Network. We'll see you Sunday. Later.